Hello there again. Kind of returning back to um, this adventure that I had started. Uh, really haven't gone through it here online, but I've played it offline. At least I started to, and um, but we're going to return back to this. But I want to recap a little bit because I've changed things up a little bit. I'm actually running through this with ChatGPT just to give it a try. I've never tried this before. I've had a lot of interest in playing a little bit of RPG, and I'm not really part of a in-person group or anything like that that plays. But I've had a lot of fun. I did the Gen Con online back when they had COVID. They really weren't doing the Gen Con in person. They had this really cool idea, the Gen Con online, and actually got involved in the Savage World Adventure Edition, playing that. Trying to remember what the name of the scenario was, but it was one of the Western-based scenarios, but it was actually really a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Kind of got into that. Played some Call of Cthulhu. Mostly that I've played solo as well. And then kind of recently, I played around a little bit with basic fantasy. I played around with most recently Shadowdark, and I'm really enjoying Shadowdark. I'm loving some of the solo elements of that. There's even the Arcane Library even has the publication the Solo Dark rule set, which is great. I'm working through that as well. But I wanted to give this a try. What I've got here is I've got an adventure that I've already started. You can see this one here has gone on quite a while. I'm using ChatGPT, the Shadowdark RPG Game Master, and just to tell you a little bit about it, I don't know a lot about it. I'm just running through this for the first time. But it's a GPT here. It's by Kevin Oliver. It's listed here as a Shadowdark Game Master for a beginner-friendly campaign. So far, it's kind of fun. I mean, there's no substitute really, for having a real live game master, somebody who really runs a game, having the camaraderie of a group of people. But you know what? I understand. A lot of times you want to play, and you want to figure something out, and so um, it actually is not terrible, for what it is. You have to accept it for what it is. But basically, it takes you through this. And I asked basically, how do I first begin the game? And then it comes back and says, well, you want to gather your materials. You can create your character, roll your stats. Also, they will do that for you. Now, it says choose an adventure. Okay, so I haven't really played around with this. If you recall from a previous video I did on with Shadowdark, I mentioned that I was playing around trying to solo the Lost Citadel of the Scarlet Minotaur, which is the adventure that comes with the beginner set for Shadowdark. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty brutal, pretty hard. The hard part is trying to play that solo. I found it a little bit difficult, trying not to look ahead to be fair, and then also to run a lot of character sheets. Running half a dozen characters is not really probably a great idea for solo. I would recommend probably running something that's more solo friendly. But I thought, you know what? When I come back into this, I'm going to bring in the same characters, but I'm going to come into this from the point of trying to use ChatGPT. So basically, I started the game up. I wanted to pull in one of my characters to start. Now it says, do I want to create a character? You can have the option create a character together now, start an adventure with a pre-made character, learn the rules first through a mini tutorial. Well, I already have the rules. I have the full Shadow Dark rules. I've got the beginner set. So I wanted to start the adventure solo. And I'm fine doing the Scarlet Minotaur one because that's the one I've been working on. So they needed to have the name, class, ancestry since I wanted to bring in my own character. So I picked one of my first sheets here, and I've got those open. I've got Vam Crowsong, a human fighter. And again, a lot of these sheets I've made through I believe it's Shadowdark, which is an awesome website. You get these nice fillable PDFs that you can type into, and you notice my hit points are down to 7. The 11 is my maximum, so the way I'm tracking them on this sheet is that my current hit points are 7. You're going to find out why soon, but my max is 11, and I got all my attacks in here. You've got my deity information, all this stuff. So I've entered that information in. I said that my name, the name of the character is Vam Crowsong. I went through all this stuff, listed all the stuff. Then it comes back, gives you the prologue for the adventure, which I'm not trying not to give away too much of that stuff here. But and then you get the choice of going to the high path or the low path. And then I picked the high path going through this adventure. And I've got 2 torches and a flint and steel. It's beginning to get dark. Um, so it's kind of a choice where I make the option of taking the high trail. And I chose the high trail, but basically when I do that, I notice there's something shining off behind a bush. I go through this. I've um, actually asked me if I want to investigate the glint that I see behind the boulder, follow boot prints into the side trail, approach the main entrance to the citadel, ready my weapon, light a torch. Um, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit scared because I was afraid somebody might be there. So I did ready my longsword. Um, I probably should say too that some of this may if you are planning on doing this adventure, you may not want to watch a lot of that. I may be spoiling a little bit of it for you. But basically, Vam, uh, there were like 3 skeleton scouts that he managed to take out. I think the first one was through his crossbow. I thought I had a little bit more distance to deal with. It's skeleton scouts. There were 3 of them. Their armor class was 13, hit points were 4. They had rusty weapons with a +2, immune to poison, no morale check. So I had the high ground. I had some initiative. I did ready my longsword. So I decided to. I think my option here was I decided to switch to the longbow and fire from range. And I did, and fortunately I dropped one of them, and I had 2 remaining. Now the thing is, they got on me pretty quick, and I did take on some damage. So this, it handles the combat so far. It's okay, just with the one character. Um, but I want to try this by adding in more of the team, more of the characters, and see how well this handles them. I basically went through the fight and I ended up pushing the last one off of the cliff, I believe, off of the ridge. I had to go through that. So let me go through the rest of what happened here. Yeah, I had the last attack. Combat ended. Basically, I wiped out 3 of the skeletons, and then so somewhere below a wolf howls, something ancient heard the clash. So I'm a little bit nervous about all that, to be honest with you, especially when I just have one character in a dungeon that I know is meant for a party of probably 6 or more to 6 or more first level characters. Now, it did say I spotted a rusted pendant that was hanging from the one that fell off the ridge. That the glint that I saw earlier. So I ended up picking that up. I went down to get that. It was a pendant of some kind that may come into play later. It was a pendant of the red sigil or sigil. I'm not sure how to exactly pronounce that. But I have a feeling it may come into play later on. So I did pocket that, have that pendant. So now I was kind of at this decision-making point of, do I want to investigate further? I'm just one fighter, one first level fighter, who's already lost, not quite half of his hit points. Not really sure what I want to do at this point. So I forgot to give my ability stats, I believe, when I started this out, and I requested that I needed to give my ability stats to get this character in check. And so the game master comes back, tells me what information it needs. So I enter in everything from my PDF, and then it gives me all the info here. Strength 18, +4, the dexterity, all that stuff. So it has all the information, my attack bonuses. So I basically lined that up with what was in my PDF. I should have done that from the start. Unfortunately, I didn't. Um, So then it asked me, then tell me the talents you've rolled. Have me roll them for you. Now, I've already got talents that I have. I've got a sheet that I've already generated for this character. And then I also listed all my weapons, armor, the languages that he spoke. Um, I believe I actually made a mistake when I did that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I made a mistake because I had another character sheet open. This is where you can get yourself into trouble. I had two character sheets open. I had a half orc fighter character sheet open. Um, Man, I had to correct that. I said actually those talents were incorrect. I can give you the correct talents for Vam Crowsong, and so I went back through it, entered those in. Now we've got it correct. Level one fighter. Yeah, I really kind of messed this up at first, but the cool thing is I could recover from it. I gave the wrong information, I put it back in, got it fixed, got the notable gear. And again, there's a recap. Once I went through all that stuff, there was a recap of my current choices. And then from here, I have a choice. The main citadel entrance is partially collapsed. A hidden side trail bears footprints. You have not yet lit a torch, and the light is beginning to fade. If you know anything about Shadowdark, there is no dark vision. Okay, you don't have any player characters. Monsters, a different story, but for player characters, torch management, light management is super critical to this game. Nobody has dark vision, so you're not going to get away with that. So, I'm just a single fighter with three torches. It's a little bit scary. I'd like to have a few more people in the party that have torches. So, I'm asked, what do I want to do next? What does Vam do next? So I have all these options, and I'm like, hey, I decide I need to bring some more people in. So I start out by saying I am joined by Uzguk, who is a half-orc fighter. That's the guy that I accidentally switched stats around with the other guy, the human. And so I provided his information. So now we end up with two characters as we scroll through this. We have Uzguk, the level one fighter. He's half orc neutral. Um, all of his stats pretty decent. The talents and features. I've entered all this stuff. And then basically, once I've entered all that in, so you can see this is where I'm entering all that information in for the Chat GPT Game Master, and then I get this back to me. So it's a confirmation, which is really nice. It's all laid out here. So now it even realizes, hey, my party is consisting of two characters now. I've got Vam and I have Uzguk. Now that's still not enough to go in here, and I need to enter in the other characters. So we've got it gives me the recap again, asks me what do you and Uzguk do? Well, I don't want to do anything until I've um, added more people to the party. And I have quite a list of stuff open here. We've got Thralgenlir leads under Dwarf Priest. I need to bring him in. We've got a number of other characters here to bring into this. I'm going to have a decent sized party. It is going to be a little bit difficult for me trying to do this solo, but I'm going to go ahead and enter in some more of these characters and then trying to kind of get this adventure rolling, see how it goes, and then give my opinion later. Hopefully, I don't make any more mistakes as I go through this, but this is the first time that I've actually played around with the idea of using Chat GPT as a game master, and just kind of wanted to try it out, see how it goes, and I'll give you my opinion.